Alright, so this is the wall that we are going to be doing our accent wall on. All this stuff's going to be moved out of the way, don't worry, we're going to move that in a second. So I've already taped off where all of our studs are in the wall, and I did that using a stud finder. You can get that from Home Depot or even Amazon or any type of hardware store. But now, after we got our wood pieces, I realized the studs probably don't really matter because these weren't heavy pieces, but they are evenly spaced out, so I am going to use those as our reference. We already got our wood cut. We have the 2 long pieces, and then we have, I think, 8 or so of the smaller pieces, but we aren't going to use all those. All those are spaced out, but we're not going to use all the spaces. I think I want to take some of those out because I kind of want just a few more than the studs we actually have behind the wall. So these are approximately 1.5 inches thick, and some of them have like little ridges on them on one side, but the other side should be good. So we checked them to make sure at least one side was smooth. Like this one has little ridges, but the other side is okay. So make sure that one side is smooth. And these we got from Home Depot, and they cut them down. And these pieces are just the extra lengths that they cut off because we may use them to go back across and do a border at the top. Alright, getting started building our actual wall. So the first step is we're taking our liquid nails, and I'll be sure to link all the materials that we use in the description box so you know the exact name and type of everything that we use down there. So we take our liquid nails and we're just putting like a small line across one side of the board to adhere it to the wall. And the reason we're using the liquid nails instead of just using nails only is because we are not using the studs for all of our boards. Some of them may happen to fall on a stud, but you're not going to really get that secure, you know, nailing a board through drywall, and we want this to be secure. So the liquid nails is to make sure everything's in place, and then we do put a finishing nail at the top and the bottom to make sure it doesn't shift at all. Let's talk about a hiccup right here. This board actually did not fit. It was a tench too long. We did get them cut, measured at Home Depot, but the machine they use is not 100% accurate. So we decided to make sure that every board fit before we nailed it down. Well, before we used the liquid nails to put it in place. So we wanted to make sure everything was cut, and if we need to sand anything, we went back and sanded it down or sawed it down to make sure it was a perfect fit. So for the smaller pieces, we actually cut those down with the saw ourselves, and some of them were kind of jagged, as you can see here. So I have to go back in with a sander to sand those down to make them smoother so that it's a flush fit with the vertical boards. These are going to be the horizontal ones that are going across. Okay, so this is what, I'm out of breath. So this is what it's looking like. I have all of my other 2 pieces cut. We just used the regular saw to cut those down off of the leftover long pieces we had instead of going back to get those cut. And now I'm just going to tape them up according to measurements to make sure that's where we want to permanently place them. I have a couple options, so I think I'm just going to do, I haven't decided if I want to make that square smaller at the top and the bottom or make them all the same size. So I'm going to just tape them up as like a rough draft to see if that's where I want them to go. And after we figured out the design we wanted, we were just using our liquid nails as well as 2 finishing nails to adhere the horizontal boards in the correct spots next to the vertical boards. Also, you can't really see it, but there's a leveler on top of that horizontal board that's being nailed right now. Be sure to use one of those to make sure your boards are straight. Alright, this is how it is looking now that we have all of our boards in place. This is the design that we chose. And now we're going to start caulking. The caulking was one of the most tedious parts because there were so many squares and you had to do both sides of the squares. So I really did not like this part. And the tool that I got to use, I feel like it was helpful, but I feel like my finger worked better. So just keep that in mind. Finger is kind of better, is kind of best for caulking. After I finish caulking everything, I am going back in with my spackle over every single place where my vertical boards meet my horizontal boards. I'm not using a lot because I didn't want to have to do a whole bunch of sanding, but after this finished drying it turns white, and then I went back over it with a sander very lightly because again I did a thin coat, but it just smooths out every place where those boards connect. And now the final step is to paint. Painting was tedious because I had to use 3 different tools. I had to use a small brush that I'm using now to do the cracks, not the cracks, but to do all the parts where the boards lay flush with the wall because the rollers, they can't get into those little nooks and crannies. Neither is the small roller. So it was a pain in the butt to have to paint all those squares, and it took way longer than painting like a regular wall because you don't have any squares or any boards that need painting in the cracks. And I did have to do 2 coats of paint for this as well. After many days and nights, this is the final result. I'm so happy with how it turned out. I'm so glad that we finished it. I hope this was helpful for you guys and I hope you enjoyed this. If you do plan to do your own board and batten wall or accent wall, I hope this is helpful, and thank you guys so much for watching.